this is the lecture title which he has selected for us. Sir, just for your information, all the students who are here are first year students of Masters of Transportation Planning at SPA Vijayawada. And before I request Sir to start his delivery, I would like to introduce him. So, Shubhajit sir's area of interest are transportation planning, multimodal transport planning, NMTs, then sustainable transport system and travel behavior analysis, perception studies also related to transport. Then he is associated, as I told you, with the Department of Architecture and Planning at IIT Roorkee, as well as he is a joint faculty at Center of Transport Systems, which they call as CTRANS. Before coming to IIT Roorkee, he was associated with NIT Patna in the Department of Architecture for 4.5 years. Then he is undertaking various positions in IIT Roorkee as well as NIT Patna, and then he had got many scholarships, like the Institute Silver Medal at NIT Kharagpur, because Sir's alumni is IIT Kharagpur, and then Best Paper Award at TDMDC conference in 2016 at IIT Bombay, and he had also got the alumni scholarship of Jadavpur University, which from where he has done his bachelor's of architecture. So his PhD is from IIT Kharagpur, then his master's is in infrastructure design and management from IIT Kharagpur, and bachelor's of architecture from Jadavpur University. He is also working on various projects which are there, especially related to transport and urban planning as a whole. So Smart City Bareilly he is working on, then he is working on pedestrianization projects, as well as he had participated in various national and international seminars. He is a member of Council of Architecture as well. He had organized various short-term courses related to planning, and various work of him are published in various reputed journals of like Elsewhere is there, and various other national and international conferences. Around 50 research paper in total are published related to planning, and various book chapters are also there which are being published. So such an eminent person we have got from the field of architecture and planning both, because sir is also an architect and then he has done his PhD in transport planning. So I would like to request Shubhajit sir to kindly deliver his address and enlighten the mind of our students. So with this, I would, it is over to you, sir. Kindly deliver, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Jayesh. First of all, I thank to you and SPA Vijayawada to provide me this opportunity to interact with these young minds, and definitely next 1.5 hour, this will be something like more interactive session than one-way deliberation, and definitely transport is one of my key interest, and then it all derived from the personal feeling and findings, like as it was mentioned in the introduction that I'm basically architect, and then how I transfer myself and what actually drive me to select transportation as my study is just day-to-day experience. So transportation, in short, before I start the presentation, is something like when the moment we just move out from our home, transportation starts in various form. So in day-to-day life, we are facing different challenges, and at the same time, as a citizen, we are also thinking that if we get this, it would be better. If we can modify it, it is better. And now when we are in the field, or maybe we are studying this particular theme as our subject. So then we get some theoretical understanding and all, but it's very common and it's indispensable for like with our day to day life. So with that, I just share my presentation. Hope it is visible to all of you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the topic that I just would like to say about the urban mobility, its challenges and opportunities in India. So transportation as a planning is relatively new. Earlier, it's much more of a engineering solution, and mainly the work has been done on the quality of pavement, highway, etc. But relatively this planning came into existence maybe in 80s that time, and even in India it is little late. Then we started understanding that okay, providing road or just giving this many numbers of buses will not solve the issue, because it also involved our individual perception, our individual desire, and then that is making all the things challenging, much more challenging. And one factor to that is the population. Now, whenever there are challenges, as we know that, like maybe from the primitive age, whenever people face the challenges, they also took out some way and try to find out some opportunity which solve the problem. And now,
Shubhajit, sir, there is
yes,
a small request, sir, that can you make it PowerPoint mode? F5 like this below. There is
yeah,
because then the entire screen it will look a bit bigger. Yes, sir.
I have made it in presentation mode.
Already made, sir.
Yes, yes. Is it not
Uh,
coming like that?
I think there is some problem. No problem, sir. Please continue, sir. No
No,
problem.
I just didn't reshare. I think that way.
Okay, sir. Just try if.
He was talking about that there are challenges and opportunities, and now the another threat is that normal versus new normal. So new normal is basically the post-COVID. Though theoretically cannot say this is post-COVID scenario, because it is always up and down. The moment we realize that COVID is now gone, then maybe another wave, another form is actually taking everything wipe out. But anyway, so there was a learning when that particular lockdown unlock situation that were imposed, and we have seen the changes everywhere. So transportation was also not an exception, and then there were certain kind of changes in mindset of the planner, users, etc. So today we'll talk this, and we'll start with the normal, like it is much more like a pre-COVID scenario. What are the challenges, and now what are the additional challenges, and what extra opportunities we got after this COVID thing. So with that, I proceed with this normal. Okay, let us start with this particular image on the left. So this is particularly, a random image I have taken from Google. I just searched transportation congestion, and then I got it. So here you can see that probably this is near.
Shubhajit, sir,
Yes.
there is an option. If
Mhm.
you share the entire screen, like stop sharing, and then maybe if you share the entire screen, Then the PowerPoint mode will be visible, sir.
Okay, I'll do that.
You have to share the entire screen. Yes, and now you do slideshow. Yes, sir. Now it's absolutely fine, sir.
Thank you for that. Okay, so this is something we can realize, and this particular image probably we are aware of, irrespective of the city you belong to. Somewhere you will find this kind of scenario that where maybe this is near market area, or maybe it's a mixed of, you can see some of the IPT, intermediate public transport, as these autos, and then you have cars, etc. So it looks congested. Definitely, we agree to that. So if so, what about this? So it's much more congested, right? Probably cannot figure it out that what exactly it is. So maybe this is something, the main reason to put up these two photographs is to just get idea that what is the problem. So if we try to solve the problem of the current day, maybe it will fail tomorrow, or maybe after 1 year, because one way population is increasing. More than that, the urbanization, and there is less urban growth in its periphery. So there is a concentration in all these metro cities because of the opportunity, because of jobs, education, healthcare. People are driving to that particular city center and creating this unbearable congestion to some extent. So to put up some statistics on that, so as per 2001 census, the million plus cities, means the cities having more than 10 lakh population, was only 35, and that has gone up to 53 in 2011. And unfortunately, due to this COVID, we are not getting the census of 2021 very early, but it is definitely more than that. And also, if you see that with current some population projection from different development banks and all, so which was around 31.16% in 2011. So this is the data in 2020, where it is estimated to be 34. So there is a constant increase in urban population. But more than that, what is very scary about the population density. So you must be aware of census definition of a town. So there's some kind of clause we put, like population should be 5,000, then population density should be 400 person per square kilometer. But these are just minimum standard, and where we can consider this 25,000, 20,000 density, you can see that high rise development, very dense development. But result is that for all of them, when they are on the road, when they are making their trips, how the transport scenario will look like. Maybe from a perspective that we have seen in a region where earlier it used to be only 2-story, 4-story building. Now they demolished it, and now they built probably 20-story building, but the road remain the same. So how we can actually now cope up with the situation? So that's the main issue. Now there are few challenges, and we'll talk each of them individually to understand. And many of such things you have either experienced or you have gone through your course so far about that. One is steady growth of private vehicles, and then this is something where you may ask several questions, that the reason to have this particular growth. Then at the same time, we have limited road capacity augmentation. Augmentation means you increase the width of the lane or create another lane. So that is a problem, especially in urban area, because already you have buildings, so you cannot demolish that and you can widen. Somewhere even you have seen the encroachment, and recently, like, there are few states where they have taken a very tough call on removing the encroachment, and then some way or other they put out this in some political thing and all. So in our academic discussion, maybe we will not discuss that, but eventually the thing is, somewhere it is not possible to widen the road. We cannot create extra road. Only solution, create road above road or below road, so create multiple flyover. But that is again the same thing. It is someday back, like I have seen one particular photo in WhatsApp. So there it is showing something that creating a flyover is nothing but to controlling obesity by losing your belt. So that is something is happening. Then the other part is that imbalance between transport demand and supply. The trips are more, like more number of people are making trip, and there are not only city trip, people from surrounding, they are also coming to the city. I take one example of Delhi. As because the Delhi is something center and it has connection with other few states, so each day, like people from say Meerut or surrounding, they are entering Delhi, and that is creating huge pressure. Okay, so that is one particular challenge. The other is that when we think that okay, the one solution that let the trip will go or more people coming on the road, okay, let them just do that. But then why can't we put them in a public transport? Because we all now know that public transport will have much more carrying capacity than any other mode. But in this case what is happening, that because of some kind of poor facility or maybe poor function, people are not liking public transport. And for that, definitely there is some kind of low cost approach that public transport is for poor. So this kind of common assumptions are creating another issue. So as a result, we get low cost, low quality, compromised public transport. Then poor pedestrian facilities, inefficient management of transport system. Sometimes you have everything, but you fail to manage it. Then first and last mile connectivity, which is now a burning topic, because each big city now are planning for metro, either it is under construction or just fast phase operational, but they are failing this first and last mile connectivity, which in turn making this system not successful as desired. At the same time, inadequate non-motorized infrastructure where things can be managed with NMT, that is also not there. Lack of inclusivity. This is something very important in today's world. The whole world is talking about universal design, barrier-free design, where people of different able people or people with different ability, elderly, or maybe in some cases the female travelers, they will get the equal opportunity. They can safely travel on the road. So these are the challenges. Now let us see the thing with certain kind of facts and figure. Now, registered motor vehicle in India, this is taken from Statistical Yearbook of 2018, where you can see there is a huge growth, especially the line which is totally like different from others is for two wheelers. Now this is in number. So remember one thing, as because you are now learning transportation, so when you portray this registered number, this is one statistics. But when you portray the passenger, total number of passengers served, so that is another statistics. So for this, it is just the number, but definitely here you can see that buses, they are at the bottom. Maybe there is very minimum go. But at the same time, if we multiply all these values with their average occupancy, we will get a different graph, right? So maybe little better, where average occupancy of a bus, if you take 30 to 35, and average occupancy of a motor wheeler maybe 1.5, so you get certain kind of deviation. But then also, it is not significant. And over time, the share of public buses also reducing. That is much more concern to us. If you see that 2009, 10, that particular time, under the Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission, there was certain kind of revamping in those kind of bus services. New buses introduced, low floor buses introduced, so it went little up. But after that, again there is a decline. And now the problem is, you may say that some of the cities, the people who used to take the bus now shifted to metro. Yes, you are right, but this is the whole India data, and where that percentage is not that significant, because metro, as we know, Delhi, Kolkata, Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad. So this, apart from Delhi, Kolkata, the others are not that much expanded so far. So this is one point of concern. And why we are so much worried with the bus operation, because this is one such public transport which is having low cost in terms of its implementation, and also it can have reach very easily in different size of cities, because to have metro there are certain criteria which maybe the smaller town cannot meet. So a good bus service can help them out to solve the urban mobility issues. Now, issues intensified how? The growth of road infrastructure, yes, it is growing. If you see the ministry website, that new roads are built, flyovers are made, new systems are introduced. It is happening, but it is not with the same space of growth of travel. Okay, so many people are now making trip along with people from other areas. They are also entering to that particular premises. So as a consequence, there is some huge imbalance, and then that is resulting in increase in pollution, increase in road accident, pressure on existing infrastructure, congestion. And all this is basically hampering our quality of life, and it is putting so much of stress on us. You just imagine, suppose you are not staying in your campus and you have to travel to your campus by some public transport or any other mode, and which you know that this is just 5 kilometer. Effectively it should take something like 10-15 minutes, but due to congestion it is taking 1 hour. And on a particular day you have assignment, you have presentation, so you have some state of mind, and on that day you say huge congestion, and you drink so much of pollution. So when you reach your college, by that time probably you are exhausted, and the productivity that you can produce with a nice environment, that is reduced. I think you all agree to that particular fact. Okay, so that is something is really a concern for us, and we need to solve it out. But how? So probably there are some strategy that we can discuss, but each will have certain kind of challenges as well. Now this slide is something very threatening to us, and where it is talking about one of the externalities and a bad impact of transport, that is the accident. Now, in this case, this is some statistics presented in some of the magazines and all. So, where it talks in India, in 1 hour, 53 road accidents happen. And within that, 17 life lost in this accident. And it was very predominant before the COVID, because in COVID, our focus shifted to the death due to the COVID infection. That was really, threatening. But in the same way, like in the road accident, it is happening everywhere. Highways, even urban street. So it is happening. Now, if you just split to that, so there is a term called vulnerable road users. So who are they? Mainly pedestrian, two-wheelers, and bicyclists. So they are vulnerable road users. Now, in this case, there is another statistics. If you see at the middle, the road deaths by age group, that 18 to 35, that is our youth, and this is really really scary. Now, why this number is so high in this group? There might be many reasons. That mostly in this group they are using two-wheeler, or sometimes they are using cycle, or maybe at this age people they prefer speed, and then they meet with some accident, and then the severity is much more higher. Now, two-wheelers are the deadliest, and here you can see the statistics that two-wheelers accident, this is the most, followed by cars, and then you have trucks, and then also the pedestrian. So pedestrian vehicle conflict, it is always there, and especially when there is some kind of mismanagement, or maybe people don't follow, especially at night or low visibility, that may cause such kind of accidents. Now, with all these consequences, definitely it's a congestion, emission, and accident. Uh, Too much pollution, which actually affecting. It's maybe not the instant spot death, but slow injection or slow poisoning. You may say that this pollution will create some issues in our respiratory system, or it may develop some other skin diseases, which may be life-threatening as well. Now, let us discuss a few points that the reasons not to go for public transport, especially buses. Why people they don't prefer buses? One is low frequency of services. So this low frequency of services, it is especially for the small town where probably the bus is operated by a private party, and that party is looking for some profit. Unless otherwise getting the full capacity, they will not move. And you may observe these things in your city, that they go very slow and there is no competition, nothing. So they are not in hurry because they need to get the full capacity. So that is one. The other part is that because of the mixed traffic, which is for the metro cities, or big cities like Kolkata, Delhi, Mumbai. So bus they start from their destination, like origin, at right time, but due to congestion, and there is no such like facilities or dedicated bus lane, that bus can get the priority. So that bus has to face the congestion, so that it will lack the reliability, and then it will also delay to reach to the possible destination. As a result, that there is low frequency of service. You can say this frequency equivalent to the waitings. We have to have long waiting to get a bus, especially when you are in between, not at origin or destination. Lack of riding comfort. Many such buses having very ill-designed facility, or they just try to make it much profitable. Here you can see one particular example. This bus, this is actually operational in Patna. This bus is called city bus, and you can see that the appearance itself, it's not very attractive. And more than that, if you get into the bus, the leg space, the leg room is very short. I have experienced it, and then it is very tough situation. Even the headroom is small. So I'm having a height of 6 feet plus. So if my experience with this bus, that I could not able to stand properly, and even if someone offered me a seat, I fall short with this leg room. So it's very discomfort, but there are no other options available that time. I'm talking about say 2015-16. Now they have introduced some new buses with a better facility and all. But this is for this, and this type of buses, like school bus type, they are also available in small town. Lack of seamless travel, many a times, because the roads are not really expanded to the last mile, so the bus will not reach to your destination, right? So you have to drop somewhere, get down somewhere. So for that, you have certain kind of issue that you have to transfer with the luggage and all. So lack of seamless travel is another issue. Fear of crime at station and within public transport. So this is something, we have witnessed such kind of issue, even in the daytime and night time, in even the metro city, that people are not very safe. So this is some kind of issue that we are having with the public transport. Lack of safety in terms of accident or roadworthiness of the vehicle. So this is something depending on the driver's behavior and the vehicle overall vehicle characteristics. Like if the bus is not properly maintained, so it may lead to some accident, and then the effects will be severe. Lack of passenger information. In many cases, we do not have the real-time information. Even forget about real-time information. If you are new to a city and you are waiting at a bus stop, you don't have information that which are the buses actually going through that particular bus stops and where they are leading to. Whereas it is expected to have that, okay, even if you are stranger to the city, you can get the information. Okay, the next bus will come in this, that will be the fare structure. It will take this much of time. So that is missing. It is there for metro. Sometimes it is also there for the suburban railway, but for these buses it is less. Yes, wherever there is the bus rapid transit system and all, so they are there, but it's not in majority. And here we have to remember we are talking about the whole India, all type of cities together. So we are talking about those kind of issues. Then service is slower than private vehicles, and PT makes frequent stop to make the profit. And then in India, especially, even if the bus will not stop at the stop desired stop location, so it's something like some person just put the hand, and then bus bound to stop there to get down or get into the bus. Overloading of vehicles makes ride uncomfortable, that you can see in the bottom image. Whenever you have high demand, less supply, you can witness this. Public transport is more expensive than two-wheelers for the shorter trip. Yes, to some extent, if you just make a smaller trip, so you find that two-wheeler is very easy and it is under your control. You are having the comfort, so people prefer that. Poor quality infrastructure like bus stations, shelter, these are the issues. Low status of public transit service. So sometimes even if you don't board the bus, but someone just gave you that thing, don't get into that bus in that city. Your life will be miserable. So this kind of status that we always flow, that is not good, not good. So people are also listening to that. So they experienced it. Poor fast and last mile connectivity, as I already mentioned. So these are the reasons that people are going away from public transport. At the same time, people are getting attracted to the private transport mode. Why? Yes, one of the reason is social and economical influence. People are in urban having better affordability, and then is a social status. If I see my friend is just now just bought a Royal Enfield, and then I am using a cycle, so I may feel that okay, so maybe I'm very poor. So this kind of assumptions or this kind of social influence actually resting us to use a good mode, and then we shift to that private mode or motorized mode. Cycle is also a private mode. If we say that this is also owned by us, but there are certain kind of constraints, especially when the distance is more, or this is very adverse situation, weather. So it is one. Personal and family transport. So it is something where we cannot deny the fact that suppose in a particular peak hour, if I want to go office or my workplace, and if I see a congested bus, still I can manage. But if I want my family to go for a recreational trip, and definitely I don't want them to get into the bus if there is no other options available. So for that, even people do not possess car; they just rely on the Ola Uber. So this is taking another market, though it is very convenient, providing last mile connectivity, but it is adding just like a private car. Door-to-door service, that for private transport mode, we don't need to rely on the time. Suppose midnight, I just feel that I should go for a long drive. I can take my car, I can go. Flexible routing is the same, where we can start from any time and we can have door-to-door connectivity. Riding comfort, I can put on AC, I can switch on, so it's under my control. I don't need to rely on the operators. So that is why it is actually going up, especially for the metro cities. And you can see there are three photographs from Kolkata, Delhi, and Mumbai. Probably if I don't write there, it will be same, like almost same. You can see the pool of cars, and in between you can get some auto rickshaw, some two wheelers, or maybe one or two buses somewhere. So this is the scenario. Now, what is happening? So, one side that people are going away from private transport, the other side they are going for the private transport. So, they are related. So, what is that relation? So, more car on the street is creating more congestion. So, due to the congestion, the bus is actually failing to reach their desired destination on time. So that's why, like, there are lower frequency and fewer trips made by bus, and because of that poor reliability, there is less demand from the people, and for that you can say that there is less frequency. Like, it's two way. People are thinking that bus will not reach the destination, so I will not get the bus, I should not take the bus. And the bus is saying that, okay, unless I get the full passenger, how can I get my money back, or whatever the operational cost? So for that reason, number of trips made by bus reduced in a day is actually increasing its operational cost, because there are driver salary, then there are contractor salary. So for that, one way out is increasing the fare or tariff. The moment you increase tariff for private transport, there will be strike. Okay, and people again go away from the car, go away from the bus, and they just try to get some personalized vehicle. So this is something is very tricky, and this is one psychology where people also, like, some way feeling now the fuel price has increased, but then also there is not significant decrease in their use of car, because this is now become very much, indispensable or some kind of addiction. On this particular point, I just give you another example, which is not transportation example. uh, Way back, the mobile was only used for communication, for the voice call. Now after that, there is transformation. People are using mobile phone not only to talk to people, but so many things like watching YouTube, watching, like doing WhatsApp. So it's a data driven kind of thing. So now we are shifting to the data. Now, at times when it was introduced, many such tele operators, they just reduce that particular tariff and giving free data. Now we get addicted to that. Now, without a mobile phone, it's very difficult. Our life is very difficult. Now, what happened? Now you take any operators. I don't take name, but that particular price where it was almost free, now they have increased so much. But then also, even if we have some limited amount, probably we don't spend that money to buy a fruit for our health, but we will procure that data, we'll go for that particular research. So that is something also happening in terms of this particular choice of car or bus. Now coming to the pedestrian. So because this is also important in order to establish the connection between last and first mile, that you don't get bus or anything just next to your door. So you have to walk some distance, or you have to cycle such distance. So in such cases, somewhere you will find that footpath is not available, or if available, then they are not in good condition. So in this case, you can look at this, that as per the guideline Indian Road Congress 102 103. So in that case, you can identify that the width is adequate. Okay, whatever is suggested, 1.2, 1.8, these are available. But how much is effective width? In this case, half portion is enclosed by that particular vendor. There is some kind of fast food center, and now this is a particular time where you don't get any people over there. But when this shop is operational, even you will not get that effective space. This is one incident. The other incident is that again there is encroachment of footpath, or there is some obstruction like trees, electric box. So people are now on the road. This is near a school, so that's why the volume is little more. But then also you can see the half of the road is now pedestrian, and because of that, there is congestion. Movement is slow, and bus definitely will not reach on time. The other part also you can see, in this case, even the width is much more than the required one, but there is no people. You can see that somebody enclose that whole area and utilize as a personal space, which is very common in many cities. The other part is that the cycle. So for cycling, it's good. Many times we do, and especially as a student group, maybe like the school going students, or maybe who are going for some coaching. So they're using cycle, but we do not have any dedicated lane or separate lane, and they are using the same space. So that is also vulnerable. The only thing is that because of these slow moving vehicles, the other vehicles will not meet their required time. The other point is that when you are not cycling in a group, so then it will be much more risky. So the other vehicles may ignore you, or then there may be some kind of unwanted accident. Last and first mile connectivity, that is the part ideally that we should aim for, that we either walk or cycle. We put our cycle on a cycle stand, secured, then we board on the public transport, and then from there you go for a public bike sharing mode. In many cities, like you must have seen that in Delhi or Pune, so they have started this thing. The cycle is available. You have to install the app and you have to pay the minimal charges. So you can unlock the cycle. You can just use it in the prescribed territory, and then you can drop it in a designated location, so that you don't need to own the bicycle, but you can use it to meet your last and first mile connectivity. But that is not available throughout. So that is one of the challenge that we have. The other challenge is the inclusivity, that different age group. So here you can see that this is another example from a city, and here you can see that the height of the curved stone, which is like painted yellow and black, so this is too much. If you just compare this image with this school going these two kids, then for them getting into that is very difficult, and even the width is not that much. So this is some kind of challenge. And the other two pictures, you can see that there is enough width to have a very beautiful pedestrian way, but it is all broken. The other part you can see at the bottom corner, that here also is the same issue, and people are taking risk, and this is daytime, so you can imagine the nighttime situation, so that may lead to a life threatening accident as well. So this is some kind of issue that we need to take care. But at the same time, like when we talk about so many challenges, so there might be some way out, but what are those way out? One way to look at into it, to see that the good practices in some part of the country or maybe in abroad, and then try to understand whether that kind of solution can be implemented in India or not. It doesn't mean that you should blindly follow those kind of solutions, but you can obviously see that whether they have achieved some kind of betterment after implementing those or not, especially the developing country context. Then one opportunity, definitely high capacity transit, where BRTs, LRTs, and MRTs. BRTs is bus rapid transit system, light rail transit system like tram or articulated buses. MRTs is mass rapid transit system, and for us it is mostly known as metro. Then this is something is possible. Then the segmented bus service. So I'll talk about that in the respective slide. Non-motorized transport to assure fast and last mile connectivity through public bike sharing or maybe some other mode. E-vehicles, or nowadays e-rickshaw in many cities, they are acting like this. Though there is some kind of conflict, some kind of debate is going on whether e-rickshaw is also considered as NMT or not, because it's actually motorized but operated with the battery. The pedestrian infrastructure and cycling infrastructure, intelligent transport system to avoid the human error, improvement on traffic management, inclusive design, transport for all, multimodal transport for seamless journey experience, park and ride facilities, incident management system, and e-mobility. So let us go one by one. So to start with, now we are much more talking about United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and in that they have talked about 17 goals, and under each goals there are some targets. So similarly, for our transportation, it is very well linked with the Sustainable Development Goal 11 and then Target 11.2, which is talking about affordable and sustainable transport. Now, this is some kind of illustration, and I liked it very much, and then I just put it in this slide that if we consider our evolution of transportation, so it all started with walking at the primitive days. Then we used horses. Then we started horse-driven cars. That is also available in some of the small town. Then after getting the peak oil situation is all driving the car, and now probably we are leading to the post oil scenario. So again we have to work and then probably have to search for the alternative fuel like CNG and other thing. Now mobility goals for such sustainable transportation are evolved like this: develop public transport system in conformity with the land use that is accessible, efficient and effective. So we have to understand it that one size doesn't fit all. Like for us that okay, the one size t-shirt will not really fit all of us, so we need certain kind of customization, and depending on the land use and its accessibility, we have to design the public transit. It's not that everywhere you must just put one particular metro, because then it will not be successful. Ensure safety and mobility of pedestrian and cyclists by designing street and areas for residents and visitors, and support the public transport system. So public transport in one hand you have to strengthen, but to support the last and first mile connectivity you have to have proper pedestrian and cyclist facilities. And for that definitely we need to look at the requirement. Now, for that, it's not only the footpath width that is actually that matters, but along with that, some other psychological thing, that the pedestrian environment we talked about, that you need proper greenery or you need some shaded area where in the harsh climate also you can walk comfortably. When you get tired, you can get some street furnitures, you can sit over there. So this is something like that. It's not forceful only like just put one particular section and then you declare this is footpath. So encroachment free, those kind of things are required. The other mobility goal is to develop the traffic and transport solutions that are economically and financially viable and environmentally sustainable for efficient and effective movement of people and goods. So, if you studied that National Urban Transport Policy, which initiated in 2006 and in 2014 also some modification made into that. So there it is focusing on the movement of people rather than movement of vehicles. So for taking that goals in mind, so we have to develop the facility which is economically viable, because we may desire to have okay overnight the facility should be as good as somewhere like in Germany, but definitely there are some financial constraints, the resources are not enough, and then we have to take up some of the solutions which can be economically viable. So making alternative solutions are prerequisite for taking a smart call on which particular project to be taken up. The other issue, which is very pertinent to the metro cities, is the parking system. Because parking is an issue for cities, and it's not because of only the cars that are registered in the city, because we are getting many cars from neighboring area, and they are entering to the core city. So for that, we have to develop a parking system that reduce the demand for parking and need for private mode of transport. Also facilitate organized parking for various type of vehicles. It's not simply you give the dimension of a small car, because there are many varieties of cars. So we need to think of that. And when we talk about cars, only we keep in mind that it is the passenger car. It's not, as because it is also something we have to take care, that is the logistic, the goods, the big trucks and other things. So where should be that particular logistic hub? So for parking of those vehicles, because otherwise you might have seen that when they are not allowed on the urban road, they are just parked on the side of the road, and which is occupying the half width of the road and then facing or creating issues for the other vehicles to have proper movement. Now, transport strategies, where you talk about the development of mobility corridors. So, what is mobility corridors? Just I give you with one example, that in a city, people are moving from different parts to different parts. Okay, so let me just use this pen. Okay, so suppose this is one particular city, and then it is distributed in some zones. So you know that the outer area, this particular line is called as a cordon line, and individual zones are called TAZ, traffic analysis zone. Now, if you just look at the four-stage modeling, the trip generation, trip distribution, modal split, and trip assignment. So the first stage to calculate in trip or generation and distribution, that from where to where people are moving. So that OD matrix. So people are moving from different location, right? So for that, you'll find that one particular corridor or road is being used by maximum people. That is the major road, that wherever from you are coming to this particular city center or CBD, Central Business District, you are using that road. So that means this is having the higher footfall. And on that note, we have one measurement called PHPDT. I repeat, PHPDT, peak hour, peak directional traffic. So, which will give you the intensity of traffic towards a particular direction in peak hour. And for any transportation problem, if you solve the peak hour problem, it will automatically solve others. So, if that PHPDT is considerably high, around say 10,000, or more than that, so a metro or such kind of system can work better. But if it is 3,000, 2,000, a bus system can handle it. So for such reason, we have to identify the mobility corridors where such kind of BRTs or rapid system can be installed. The other strategy is land use and transport strategy, that depending on the land use, how you can decide upon the type of transport that you require, whether public transport or intermediate public transport like auto, uh, etc., can be used. IPT or intermediate public transport, also known as paratransit, okay, which mean to support the transit as a feeder. Road network development strategy, how you are developing the road. Public transit improvement. So whatever you have to improve that so that you can meet the user satisfaction. Transit oriented development is another burning topic nowadays, that wherever you have the transit, okay, metro line and all, so alongside you will have high real estate, high land value. So there should be some kind of development that is proposed. Non-motorized transport strategy can also be taken up to ensure a very safe movement of pedestrian and the cyclist. Freight management strategy for the logistics. Traffic engineering measures like to make all these geometry, road geometry intersections very proper so that vehicles can easily move and there will not be any issue. Travel demand management strategy, regulatory and institutional measures. So these are another uh, thing to be added to the transport strategy. Now, in this case, if you consider the overall mobility and accessibility, so there are four major things involved. One is the planning process, where strategic planning can be taken up. Then the urban form. So as because many of our cities are not designed initially, so it's developed organically. So depending on the city form, we have to see that what is the land use and how we can make better use of it. Institutions like all such policies, regulation, finance, that are important, and we cannot ignore the technology. So vehicle technology, intelligent transport system, new fuel, e-vehicle. So it's all evolved under that particular thing. So 10 years ago, we never thought of electric vehicle, but now it is there. Many people nowadays, they're using the e-scooter. Though there is some incident recently, I think you have read about that there is some battery issue and there is some hold on manufacturing these vehicles. But then also it was never thought that it can take up the market. And then these are the technology, even the autonomous vehicle, the driverless vehicle, etc. And in all such things, what are the main key issues that we have to improve public transport? We have to support the public transport with the non-motorized one. We have to also manage the traffic and then also the demand. Okay, how we can meet the demand. And the demand management can be done like if you have 100 passengers to move, can you club 60 of them in bus so that fewer number of buses can help you out to solve the demand. Okay, so public transport system. Uh, just Public transport system, here you can get the mass rapid transit system. Then you may have some kind of more buses to add it, the augmentation of bus. Then also you talked about the ISBT where inter-city bus movement can take place. Then IPT, these are there. For pedestrian, sidewalk or the footpath, encroachment-free environment, crossing facility, street illumination, universal design. So these are to be taken care of. Where in the intelligent transport system, automatic vehicle location system, so that you can get the real-time information about how much time it will take to reach to your location. GPS in intermediate public transport, e-ticketing somewhere it's already being started, passenger information system, CCTV for much more safety, vehicle incident detection, and variable message system, where you can also get like variable message system. I would like to make a point that earlier in the bus it's there is only painted the origin and destination, but now you see that electronic boards which is actually moving those information are saying that okay, this is the bus, these are the possible station, or the next station is this, next stops is this. So that is there. Now, on-street parking, off-street parking, multi-level parking, and stack parking, these are different parking management plans. So these are something where you talked about the goals and then improvement area. Now, this is something interesting. And yeah, in this case, like after we discuss this normal scenario, we'll take a pause and then we may have quick questions and then we go for new normal. So I'm left with few slides for the normal part. So managing road or demand or desire. So here you can see a illustrative image that the same portion of the route, it looks so congested with the cars, where if you can replace it with a bus and the pedestrian, it is this much. And if you move it with the cycle and then some people, so it is that. So it's about the same road space. So that means if we only cry that, okay, there is no space, how can we solve the issue? It's not the case. We have some solutions, but how to motivate people to use the and this is space we have surrendered to cars. So you can only see the space available for walking, only crosswalk, somewhere footpath, and rest of the things is gone. So you can see that rest of the things, if you get into that, so then you are making contact with the vehicle. Similarly, the bottom graph, what is showing the capacity people per hour. So the same amount of space can take so many people, like 13,000 plus people, like pedestrian only. For BRT, it is also taking 13,000. But if the whole street is just having the car parked and car is not in movement, so it is only zero. So is the zero utilization of the space. Where car in transit means in movement, so it is around 1300. So you can see the advantage. of having other part. So these are some kind of understanding that already I think you got certain idea previously, and then this will be clear by this slide. Improvement of public transport. Definitely, there you can say that Delhi is very successful for the metro thing. Along with that, there are some kind of bus service, AC bus that took some kind of lead role in some people to attract some people towards that. Then we have BRTS system, dedicated lane, successful in some of the parts like Ahmedabad BRTS and few others. And in few cases, the example of the inland water transport, and this is the photograph from Kolkata, and it is very successful there. Wherever there is opportunity, we have to also go beyond the surface. We can use the inland water for the transport. Segmented bus service that I already told that I'll discuss here. So as we have a common assumption that the bus is for poor, so that to remove that assumption, we can have segmented service like the way we have in the railway or in flight. So I take example of railway. Suppose you want to go from Delhi to Mumbai in a train. So the train is having first AC, second AC, third AC, sleeper, and general. Now you tell me, if you board that particular train, irrespective of which coach you are, you'll reach your destination at the same time, right? So time is not affecting it. But in each of those coaches, you'll get different kind of hospitality and comfort. So that means if you have affordability, you go for such kind of comfort, but at the same time you should not make the system totally for the people who can afford, and then there is no option available for the people like a general bogie. Similarly, now we are having this kind of system parallelly running the AC and non-AC buses, and then definitely the fare is different, but people can actually uh, go to the AC buses, especially the choice riders. So they in riders, like who are riders who are boarding the bus, right? And now there are two categories. One is the captive riders and the choice riders. Captive riders means they have no other option, they only depend on the bus. Fine. Choice riders, they do have their own vehicle, but then also they may select the bus if found convenient. So for them, should have this facility, and that's why it is a new initiative. Maybe 5 to 7 years, these AC buses are taking the market for such people. Okay, and time it will be the same because it's moving on the same road condition, but only the comfort will make the decision change. But even if you just consider people like out currently 100 people are using cars and 30 of them are moving to this, so this 30 cars will be removed from the road, and then 30 cars means you I think know this concept of passenger car unit. A bus will have PCU value of say 4 or 5, such big size buses. So that means it can save so many things like 4 5 buses means, like if you reduce 30 cars, so that means it is effectively you can accommodate 5 6 buses, and one bus can take 30, so that there is enormous gain in that particular aspect. Improvement of pedestrian, so that is something that the left hand side image is from abroad, where you can see that this is the car free zone, people can happily walk, no tension about any vehicles conflict. Similarly, the things here also recently it has been developed in Chandni Chowk. So this is much more free pedestrian friendly space where people can walk happily, and somewhere they can have a very safe environment. Inclusive design, transport for all, this is like for all people irrespective of their mobility. So people on wheelchair, or maybe elderly, maybe a pregnant woman, or maybe some people injured. Some disability may be permanent in nature, something maybe just incidental. So for all of them, there should be proper facility so that they can also enjoy the transport infrastructure. Intelligent transport system, it can reduce the human factor error where uh, the system, the GPS and other sensors installed in vehicle can take up the call when to stop, where to stop, etc. And to some extent, it is happening with the cloud information that the way you book the Ola and Uber. So you can see that where it is, how much time it will take. So it's all done on that kind of cloud data that is actually two-way communication is happening. So this is something there. Incident management system is important. So whenever any accident take place, so the users will get about 1 hour, one golden hour it called. So if we can take that person to the hospital, so there is high chances that the people will survive. But we don't get that kind of system here, because for any accident spot, you have to have this ambulance, the police, etc. So if that can be done in an intelligent manner, that whenever there is one accident, that will send the message to the server and it will send all the emergency services to the spot, and also it will inform the other vehicles that the accident ahead, we just divert the road. So that way it can be managed, though it is something a little more optimistic, but it is there in some of the countries, like those kind of informations are there. China, they have developed. In Japan, it is there. So this can lead to a better movement, because whatever the accident record that we have, about 80% of them are for the human factor error. So because of drivers negligence or anything, drink and drive, all such thing, it is there. So for that, probably this kind of intelligence system can help to reduce that, and also this incident management can save few lives. Now, park and ride is another concept that is nowadays available. That we know that people, if they own their car, bike, so they are having some belongingness to that, and maybe even if you put the high class facility, 100% shift from private vehicle to public transport, it's not possible. Now, only thing is that you can make a way that you allow them to drive up to the nearest station, and then you board the bus. The remaining journey you can make with the bus or the metro, so that like there will be effective vehicle kilometer travel reduction and also the fuel saving. So that is the concept, where now in Delhi, in few places in near metro station, they have the parking space and it is operational. But then also there is no proper guideline available in Indian context. So few of research scholars, they are working on that. There are some research coming up. So this is one strategy. E-mobility is another trend, and there are some national e-mobility program where the first form of it is the e-rickshaw, and it is being successful in many such small and medium-sized town. And now they also introduce the buses. Recently, I had visited Mumbai, so I've seen some e-vehicles like e-buses, and they are running successfully. So here I stop the sharing. We have covered the normal part. So I would like to get some questions, or if you have some point that I can clear it out. So maybe next 5 minutes, if we have some interaction, it will be good. Any questions from anyone? Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, so do you have any questions regarding whatever we have discussed? If you have any observations, you can also share that. You can also share your experience with such public transport, or maybe some good experience or bad experience you can share. No questions so far?
Yes, so if you are having any questions, please ask Apurva, Niveda, Ayushi. No questions. Okay, Arpan sir is also there.
Yeah, so no question means two things to me. Option one, that I have explained everything in detail and it's very clear to all of you. And the second one is that whatever I have told, it is not understood by you. So which one should I take?
Sir, we understood what you explained. It was very crisp. So,
Okay, fine.
thank you.
Fine, thank you. So anyway, so maybe this is the thing you are learning, and you what just a suggestion to all of you: just keep your eyes open. You get the experience, and then you just try to analyze it. And any particular time, if you feel that you can write to me, you can email me for any such doubt and all. I'll be happy to answer. So with that, maybe we can move to the new normal scenario.
Yes, sir, please, sir.
Yes. Okay. So this is the COVID-19 and pandemic. Though these are some of the dashboard and other thing that that time, many people they voluntarily created something. So this is some snapshot. The left one is from one of the popular dashboard, that is the COVID-19 India, which eventually stopped after this November, October 31st. But still, by that time the maximum damage had happened, with the life loss and all such kind of issues. And then on the right side, this is the current data from the beginning. You can see very clearly about the three waves. The first one, the first when it was in India in 2020, that particular phase of say April, May, June. And then when we just started realizing that things are controlled, uh, we are at very good position. Then the last year, this time it was actually a devastating scenario. So many life loss, so many things, and eventually I also lost my both parents, not exactly on pandemic but as effect of this thing. So last year, and after that things were again normalized, or it seems like people are not reporting. So whatever may be the thing, the official statistics says that it was all okay till December. And after that, that Omicron this year, like in the month of January, and again there is a chance and there is some kind of discussion on the fourth wave. Now there are so many impact. Now what about the mobility? So these are two photographs. These are from Kolkata, and this is the famous Howrah Bridge. So you can see during lockdown, this is totally empty, as if like this bridge is now is going to be inaugurated, and for that it is prepared. But before lockdown, it is the same space where it is so lively. You can see all these yellow taxis, buses, etc. Because this is one of the main connection between Howrah and Kolkata. The scenario is not different in Mumbai, the another business city of the country, and this is that Marine Drive thing. During lockdown, no movement, beautiful sky, very clean, neat, but then also something is missing, that is the Mumbai crowd or the traffic. The same, this is one particular illustration that I have taken from that particular source given below. This is Delhi and India Gate in normal situation before lockdown and after lockdown. It's so clean, green, and there is some kind of drop in all this PM 2.5, CO2, etc. Is very obvious because there were less traffic and less emission. And also at the same time, you must have seen those kind of things that from my terrace I can see the mountain range or everything. So many such motivational things happening and roaming around. Similar to this as well, this is another intersection. You can see that where it looks so green and the visibility is so good. Okay. So these are something where you can see some of the opportunities to understand, okay, if we can reduce number of vehicles, pollution can be reduced. You may question, sir, it's not the pollution always causing by the vehicles, but if there might be industry and during lockdown the industry were closed. Totally, I agree with that. But at the same time, there is some significant impact of the emission from the vehicles. So if we can reduce that, even if it's not that green that way it is shown here, maybe it is little more like little less green, but that will be much more effective than the existing one. Now the challenges. Okay, so the government imposed lockdown, and what about the marginal laborers? And that's the disaster started. Because of this movement, many people died on the road. The coronavirus spread it like anything. But what is essential? There were so many debate. There were so many news on the socio-political agenda, etc. But for us, as a transport planner, what was the challenge? To transport them to their respective city, and this was the scenario. So then we are never prepared for that, how to transport them, because that time the train was closed. Considering the train is very crowded, then speed can be more. But there you can see nothing can be worse than this scenario. People were fighting each other. There is people like having no mask, nothing, and there is some kind of huge gathering to get that the administration failed to control. So these were some of the scenario during that initial COVID or this scenario. The impact of COVID-19 on mobility. So I suggest you all of you can search this like Google COVID-19 Community Mobility Report, and you can see some of the statistics. So these are based on the Google data, and from there during that impose of, say, this is, you can say, at the x-axis that March 15 to April 26, that is in 2020 when the first lockdown imposed in India. So there is drop everywhere, like in retail, in grocery, in parks and other recreational area, transit station, workplace. There is drop in the baseline mode share. Okay, the baseline, whatever the thing is zero, and then there is drop of 86%. Only increased in the 22%, which is very valid because that time people wanted to go their home. Many students were sent back to their host like room, or they just tried to do that at their home. So that is why it is only the positive. More people they are moving for the residential trip purpose. That is the scenario in 2020. Now 2021, this is something where we just thought the effect of corona is gone, but it is just the starting of this second wave. So here also the drop is there, but it's compared to the previous year, it has now much more stabilized. And when you can see that public transport, the 5% compared to the baseline, because all of this social distancing, people get scared and they prefer to use their personalized vehicle. And then the increase in there in supermarket and pharmacy, because the medicine and other part is definitely there is increase. And then workplace, it's still less because mainly if you see for the students it was online mode of communication. In many offices, it was like work from home. So that is why it is minus. Okay. Now look at this. This is a very recent data. It is 28th April and March, and there is increase everywhere. But where it is also, you can see the public transport, it is getting back its normal position now to the baseline. Workplace now it's all offline. Even now also you are probably attending classes offline. But another interesting part that people are moving for recreational purposes even increase more, which is like 64%. Maybe people are having fear that maybe we'll get another wave, so let us just go and roam around, just enjoy. So that's why it has increased tremendously, which is not really good, because still there is some risk with another variant of the COVID virus. So this is actually from the beginning. The first case was introduced around February 2020, and now to April 25. And this is their actually change in that percentage. Whatever I have shown in previous three slides, these are some period of data of each year, and this is actually continuous data, so that you can see the up and down. So in this particular case also, you can see that when the lockdown imposed, all of the trips like your retail, grocery, parks, transit stations all dropped, except from some increase in the residential percentage change from the baseline, so that people are moving to their home, and it is continuing whenever people get a chance to move. So then it actually, if you see sorry, if you see at that particular point, in September, where it is little diluted, and then things are started coming to the baseline, and there is some increase in that rate line where the grocery and pharmacy that has increased. Then there is a drop again in May, where it's showing the same phenomena of the residential trip positive, but all other negative. And now after that, maybe like because of the vaccination, some assurance, or maybe people just thought that I have already had the COVID. So for that, there is a tremendous increase in this recreational trip, and that is continuing. So everything now is above the baseline, and then people are moving more, and other part it is going on. Now, during that time, we had one particular survey conducted, and then from that, the question was asked. I am just showing you few of such findings. That which mode of traveling you prefer after outbreak of pandemic, and then people responded 70% that private car, because that is something they thought that there is no risk, no social distancing to be maintained in private car. At such, it is my car. And then maybe something on the two-wheeler, that is also 9.6%. So about 80% is the private vehicles, and apart from that is others, which is insignificant. And even you can see some portion which is your hired car like Ola, Uber, that is also as a little bit around 8%. And then the airways for mostly like going back to home or something, that is there. The other question, that which one of the following activities is most badly affected in COVID? So in this case, if you see that people, the way they responded, so 1 to 5, 1 means least affected, 5 means most affected. So workplace is mostly affected. And also interestingly, if you see the other bars, that holiday trip, people also realize that that is there, and also cinema hall, because cinema hall was closed for a longer duration. Apart from that, there are other few things. But grocery store, if you see that particular part, that people are having some kind of moderate answer, as because at this time many people shifted to the online shopping. So where earlier the e-commerce only selling some of the product like cloth and all, they started also selling the grocery items, food, vegetables. There are many apps developed So for that, it was something very easy. Even they were getting food from the restaurant, etc. This is one study by Terry, Tata Energy Research Institute. So in that case, they have asked the question about the mode choice of before COVID and post COVID. So then personalized car is going to increase, metro is going to decrease, and this is mainly the study is done for the metro city where metro is available. Bus also it will reduce, so there is increase in car. So with that, we got some new challenges. So one is the travel demand management, because that time it was imposed that you cannot take more than 30%. So then how bus operator will get the profit? Public transport operational viability wasn't a challenge. Assure personal safety and hygiene was challenged, that how many times you make the sanitation. Increase travel time. So what exactly it is happening? You may ask question that when the road was empty, why it is increased travel time? Because of the split, like only you can take 33% passengers at a time. So then for other 66%, it will be a longer delay than usual, because number of buses are same. They cannot operate all the buses, because then it will be at loss. Clean and safe transport system. Passenger behavior is another issue, how to manage them. Emergency services like transporting oxygen cylinder and other thing, we have seen such kind of scenario. Safety of crew members, because then they are the sources. Now here I'll just play this particular image video, and you can see the passenger behavior. This is in COVID scenario. Okay, forget about mask, how they are doing it, and irrespective of the male female, so how they are actually creating this particular issue is really horrible, right? So how to tackle them? Even some of them are wearing gloves and some mask, maybe somewhere. It's so tough scenario. Okay, so that was some challenge that we had. Now coming to the opportunities, yes, this is one particular statement that I picked up. The pandemic offers us a unique, once in a lifetime opportunity to reimagine the transportation system and move it towards a more resilient, equitable, and seamless experience. So then more resilience in the same manner, like so many migrant people or laborers, we had to move. We failed at to do that. Equitable, then many of such cases where, like for people having say private cars, they found to be much more making the trip, and then they found to be much more safe. But what about the people who are not having it? For them, is there anything that can we do? And they seem to be connectivity, those part to be taken care of. Then for that, what could be done? Create high quality bus and transit infrastructure, modernize and electrify the bus fleets, invest in cycling and walking. That was some of the initial thought, that can we just move that. So in that case, with the low investment also, when you're cycling, so you are maintaining a social distancing and other thing. Preparedness for such emergency. Autonomous vehicle where there is no risk for the crew members, and walkable environment to have a proper walkability. Other strategy, like this is very important, shifting of demand. Now this is something like the number of trips and time. Early in the morning it is very low and it is keep on increasing, so you can get the two peak. So morning peak and evening peak, and there is some lean period in between. So instead of that, if we just think of a staggered peak hours, and then we, instead of peak hours, we just make peak duration, so that the office will start at different location, different time, and the other will start at different time, so that There will be small peak in every interval, and then which can be manageable. So this is something called the shifting of demand and the staggered peaks, which can be taken up. Like the school will start at 9, office will start at 10, and then other will start at 11, and accordingly they will close at respective time, so that you don't get that kind of peak scenario. And whenever you reduce the peak or demand, your task will be easier than what is existing. Other strategy was the work from home, and it was especially for the educational thing. It was working, but then also we faced different challenges that sometimes maybe there is some kind of poor connectivity, network data, etc., etc. If you are like staying in a remote area, so probably you don't get that thing. But yes, definitely, if we can assure that, so work from home to some extent can reduce the number of travel demand on the street. Now about our own understanding and own behavior. So this is the vehicle register data, and then all of you can actually look at this. This is your Bahan dashboard, and there you can get plenty of information about different type of vehicles registered in different cities. So this is overall India data from January 2020 to April 2022. And here you can see during that first lockdown, there is a drastic drop in the registered vehicle, and then there is slow increase. So the moment we realize that probably the public transport or such kind of thing is better, we need green environment, very clean environment. But then all of a sudden, when the uh, spread of the COVID was little minimized, then again we get back to the normal scenario. Even if we talked about new normal, but now it is transforming to normal. And then again there is a drop when there is another wave, and then again it is increasing. So that means you can see that if you see from 2020, the value is not reached up to that 23.2 lakhs vehicles. Still it is promising that there is some kind of drop, but still it is now increasing again. So that's the main concern. And then if you see the split, the increase is much more on the two wheeler than the car. And now, if you just ask me that the reason, yes, to some extent, probably when you take the whole India data, few of the cities they do not have public transport, they do not have proper IPT, so they had to use their two wheeler. So that way also sometimes it is something not avoidable. But where it is like for metro cities, the problems are much more intensified. There, people can definitely use the public transport in terms like they can use the IPT to connect the public transport, or they can use the PNR facilities to connect it, and we can get some better outcome. Now the other urban mobility new normal, the commuting towards the new normal. So there were many such kind of initiative taken, and that was published in different state. That there are some kind of standard operating procedure SOPs were made, like 50% capacity, 30% capacity. Then you cannot take more than three people on auto. So those kind of initiatives taken. Now coming to the summary. So urban mobility and issues, this is nothing but some disease, and we have to do some treatment. So in treatment, we can have preventive treatment, we have curative treatment and surgical treatment. Preventive treatment, that we anticipate that this is going to change and there are certain symptoms, so we take the prevention. Say for example, if for a city we just observe based on the data that people are moving towards private transport, because the public transport are people moving to their personalized vehicle or private transport, and going away from the public transport because the public transport is having poor service quality. So then probably you have to improve that. So whatever the lacunas, if the buses are too old, discard that, bring new buses. If things are okay, so just try to assure that reliability that bus can move. So this kind of small prevention can actually make some kind of change to the expected adverse situation. Other is the curative, that already there are some issues. You found out the footpath is there, but this is something like there is obstruction. The vehicles are there, but they are not maintaining that particular lane, so that you can create a bus lane, you can manage with the traffic police and enforce some fine, etc. So that way also you can make certain change. And the last one, when these preventive, curative things are not possible, you have to go for a major change, a surgical. You create new flyover, okay? You just create new footpath. So this is a major change. And whenever you go for surgical approach for solve this, it is creating another problem. Like for any surgery, you will have some post-operative complication, and during operation also for transport is the same. The moment you see that there is a construction of a foot over bridge or construction of a flyover or a metro, then the existing traffic will be obstructed and there will be much more congestion on the street. Even the construction duration is just say maybe 6 months or 1 year or 2 years, there will be a huge problem, because already there should be some encroachment to move their equipments for the construction, etc. So, like that, whatever the common statement that we have, the prevention is better than cure. So, we have to also follow that. Whenever we see the city is having some opportunity to have the pedestrian pathway, or can bicycle can work better in local neighborhood, we should not really go for this motorized approach, because then it will be very dangerous, and then maybe we have to go for some surgical approach after some time. So with that, it's evolution or re-evolution of transport mode. It is another cartoon of the same, and here you can see that now from this bus to then walk, then what next? What is waiting for us? Okay, so this is some re-evolution, and then the moment we all realize that if you do some kind of adverse to the nature, so nature will take it back in its own way. So that was the philosophy that was working during the COVID, and everything was totally shut down and all. So we don't want to face a scenario, but whatever the learning we have from this during COVID or the new normal approach, we have to bring it at individual level, then in the surrounding, and then probably it will spread all over. So as a transport planner, as a like physical planner, if we understand this surgical, curative, and preventive measure of this treatment, we can act accordingly. And then probably there will be some kind of change which will be much more greener and sustainable. So with that, I thank you all for your kind attention. So that's all from the presentation. Then we can definitely now discuss few of the things, and also I would love to know about your own experience in just after post COVID, the way you face the traffic issues. So let us discuss that part.
Yes. So in the post-COVID, is there any different thing you experienced, especially pertaining to transport planning? You can share with all of us. Okay. And if you have any questions, I think those questions can also be addressed by sir.
Yes, please.
Okay, if no one is having any questions, I can share my one small experience which I had.
Right.
Sir, I recently went to Bangalore for some event of our students, and I went to some juice shop to drink some juice. So at that point, near that, there was a pizza store which was recently opened. The pizza store was fully functional from inside, but it was there was no banner like any hoarding or any name of the shop or nothing was there. So that pizza shop was totally established after the COVID time, and after establishing, the entire shop ran on what I can say, online delivery system. Like it used to be taken delivery from people and then directly delivered to home. So no seating arrangement, nothing, only a big kitchen. So this kind of change now. The point here to be noted is everything is happening on app and it is a delivery service. So this is how I think the new normal what we are experiencing. This is what had happened now, that no more we are experiencing those old things like sitting on a chair, and then many things used to happen. But now all that has will slowly start going off, and only I think this kind of shops will open due to this new normal. It has transportation implications as well as it has spatial planning implications also, because the land use will also change. The impact on the land use on the nearby area will also change because of such kind of an thing. So that is just one observation which I found very intense,
Yeah,
which came to my
exactly.
mind by looking for
Right.
the presentation. Yes, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is the same experience. So now the way you just explained, so there is now a concept of cloud kitchen. So there is no restaurant or something. So this will be something like now we are familiar with only Zomato or Swiggy, but there are many local startup. They initiate it and they just do this kind of medicine, and especially the food, where in we Indians are very much food lover. So for that they are giving the door to door delivery. That was there earlier, but now it has increased. Even like people ordered that from different restaurants and all. Even in our campus, some startup also, some students, they have taken that if you wish that you can get it from different hostel canteen and other thing. So that is one particular part that was there. And then the other few study that I have investigated, and probably once we get some more findings, I'll share with you, and you can share with all your students, that that is something like at one time that we are not going to restaurant, so we are reducing the number of trips, but at the same time the one that particular Zomato boy or the Swiggy person who is serving, so that is something there is increase in their trips. So what is the trade off? Like for me, like probably for the small distance, I would love to walk this 400-meter or 500-meter to go to the restaurant and bring, either eat over there or I can take away the thing. But at the same time, that distance now covered with the two-wheeler, so that is some fuel consumption, there is something. So then the trade-off, that how we are actually minimizing, especially for this food and other thing. Definitely I do agree, where we order from Amazon, Flipkart for some of the items which are coming from all over India, and probably that is something really effective. But getting food, definitely that you are not moving or you are not going outside, so that is one way good. But at the same time, now when you get habituated with that, even if we get back to normal, probably we'll practice the same. And then there is some trade-off. So one way that some employment has been created, some more two-wheelers are actually now on the road, then our personal trips are reduced. So there are some trade-off, and there is some study that we are doing. So we'll share a few findings, and then that will be interesting for all of you. Yeah, I think Jagriti Jain asked some question or had raised the hand. Any questions from anyone? Please share your own
Jagrati,
experience.
yes, sir. Jagrati is an assistant professor. She's our alumni and she's working in Bangalore
Okay.
in an architectural school. So if she can listen to me, if she is having any questions, Jagrati, please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. This is Jagriti. Thank you, sir, for the introduction. I don't have any question. Just had a view to share that it's very pleasure to have sir on board here, and it's always very pleasuring to hear him on. And we have always read on his researches, and we have always followed him. So it was just that I just wanted to share this. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Any
Jagriti.
questions from
Sir,
students?
Any
I have a
question?
Yes,
question.
please,
Yes,
please.
Navya, please.
Sir, nowadays we heard that e-mobility is the future of the mobility. But nowadays in Vijayawada, I heard that many of the cases, the explosion of e-vehicles, especially two-wheelers and all. And in APSRTC also, they wanted to introduce the electrical buses, electrical fleet also. And these explosion cases, how will that affect the choice of e-transport, like people choice of e-transport?
Yeah, definitely. That's also I mentioned in my presentation that when we talked about bikes, especially which is personalized vehicle, even I was also thinking of to go for one, but then right now there is some kind of uh, rules, or there is some kind of stay order on the production of these things, especially to some of the two wheelers. There is some explosion in the battery installed in that car. So these are the challenges and practical challenges. So maybe like this is some case, because e-bikes is not new to the market. It was there even 10 years 15 years ago also, it was there. But now like maybe because of so many manufacturing thing and all, there might be some defects. So maybe it will take some time, but for as a user always will have the concern, because all such accident, how it will lead to our life risk. So then definitely this kind of things, when it is portrayed in national televisions and other thing, the people who was very attracted then may get stayed back. The other point is that when e-vehicles are very promising, but the other researcher, they are pointing out about the end life of the battery. That will create another issue for the solid waste management and e-waste management of the city, because those are the challenges. But yes, definitely we always make a trade-off. We know that those batteries and other thing will create problem, but currently if we can actually save some energy or conventional for fossil fuels, so that will work for us. But yes, pertinent to your questions, it will like definitely negatively affect the people's mind to select, unless otherwise there will be another confidence built up with the proof. Because if you recall, probably it is something about, I think 10 years ago, there was certain issue with that Nokia battery. Okay, and there were some cases that Nokia, that battery VLC5, so that actually exploded or something happened, and there was some kind of panic among all Nokia phone users, including me. So always they said that you go and check your thing whether it is safe or not. But then I think after that there was some kind of confidence built up there, and then people are using it. Now it's the same thing. Say the battery in the vehicles or battery in your cell phone, the same issue. If there is some kind of fault, so that may put you in trouble. But again, getting back that confidence, I think it will take some time. Even if if you ask me directly, my input, yes, I also like initially thought of, but now after looking at this, probably I'm little bit skeptical to whether go for it or not.
Yes, sir. Will it change the, I mean, like there are some goals about e-mobility too, like there are several policies.
Yes, yes. So
Will
that
it
will definitely
will
affect that, because if people now anticipating that if a small size vehicle in the two wheeler is can create this, so maybe for a bus, size will be big. So if such kind of explosion will take place in buses, what will happen? So there is some kind of thing, but again, I think people are wise enough to take the call, because risk is everywhere. Even there were some incident where, due to some malfunction, then the bus got fire from this fuel tank and etc. But that should be like, it will take some time. Again, it will take some time.
okay, sir.
Especially for
Thank you.
e-vehicles, the other issue is that people are much more worried about the e-vehicle charging infrastructure. I can buy my e-vehicles, but then I should also get the charging point. the way it is there for the fuel, that you have the fuel stations, but in India we don't have that e-vehicle charging point in regular interval. So that is the e-vehicle charging point is there. Now the another level thinking that when you install those charging point in some area, so where from the power will be generated, because for fast charging it requires lots of power. Then whether it will also cut down some consumption from like the residents, so how to generate that extra power, so those kind of things are there. Because to some extent the solar power is one alternative, but maybe for the mass requirement it will not be effective, and especially throughout the year, because for effective solar gain and other thing you need proper atmospheric condition. So things are there, e-vehicles, but yes, definitely that is one way out to move towards much more cleaner transportation. So people are working on that to create the e-vehicle infrastructure as well. Thank you for your question.
And also, I have another question regarding this only.
Mhm.
At earlier in 2010, at that times, CNG is one of the sustainable innovation at that time,
Mhm.
but it is not last that like from this year. I mean, like it is not last that much. No, like
Mhm.
how this e mobility will last. Like uh, uh,
This is definitely some question aligned to my previous explanation, that currently what we are anticipating, if we go for e-vehicles, then there will be probably less fuel consumption, no fuel consumption, or maybe there will be some more sustainable approach. But again, down the line, maybe technology be developed in a different manner. If there can be some kind of solar, inbuilt solar thing, or maybe some other component, or alternative fuel, or biofuel, so those kind of things can take up the market. And there is always some kind of follow up thing that we do, that whenever like some developed countries they just made some successful thing, so we are following the same path to understanding the advantages. But definitely the target of 2030, there is debate going on. And though we estimate that very futuristic and very aspiring figure to achieve that kind of move, uh, maybe that is very tough to say. Because I can tell you that acceptability of this e-rickshaw, because prior to, as Jay has mentioned about me, that I spent about 4.5 years in Patna. So I witnessed that particular change. So when I joined NIT Patna way back 2014, the one of the major mode, definitely the city ride bus, and then the auto rickshaw. And that was like also very creating noise and other thing. So around 2016, we have seen the induction of the e-rickshaw, and then it became so popular, and then people just shifting from auto rickshaw to e-rickshaw, and even the auto owners, they just again took the loan and shifted to this. And the positive change, that the area that I used to stay, that used to be very much polluted, and there was very bad smell of those kind of diesel, petrol, etc. And there is a huge transformation that we felt it is much more better. The sound is less for the rickshaw when it is moving around at the speed of 2022, and then that was a positive change. So then people shifted, there is a good change into that uh, auto rickshaw to e-rickshaw. And that is some kind of good movement. But again, if we see the overall change, the basic idea for all such transport strategy is to attract more people to the public transport. That's why now they are looking for, after IPT they are introducing buses. It's good. As I just said, that I have experienced that bus ride at Mumbai recently last month. It was good. It was operated with e-vehicles that was having also AC, uh, and then it's good.
thank you, sir. Thank you. I understood.
Any
Yes, so
other
any other
question?
questions are there? Yes, sir. So, sir, it is already 4, I think,
Okay.
if you
No,
permit.
no issue. The only thing is that what I wanted to say, though, like we have just discussed a few topics, and each topic can be elaborated in detail. That can also evolve with some kind of research interest, because I know that in your next year you have to make some dissertation, etc. So on that note, definitely, like I think the whole session is being recorded. You can go through that once, and if you feel like there's something you want to know more, or you want some clarification or any more reference or study material, you can write to me. On the presentation slide, also I have given my email ID, and I'll be happy to interact with you anytime. Okay. So again, I thank you, Jayesh, for giving this opportunity. It was nice discussion. At least we also had some good interaction, and I think whatever we have discussed, it will be beneficial to the students who have attended today. Over to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Since this is the special lecture is limited to only Masters of Transport Planning first year, second semester students, but we have also recorded this session, and I will place it on the YouTube so that what will happen, the students who have not able to attend due to their studios or classes, they can go through this lecture. Very important things you have touched, and not only after in the post-COVID circumstances, whatever changes have taken place, especially in the way we live, it includes the way we travel. So those positive changes, I think, if we adopt, we can move towards sustainable transportation or sustainable transportation behavior and practices, and that will impact a lot in the pollution levels, the emissions level, especially in all the cities in India, not only metro cities but also smaller cities. And a lot of thing is happening in case of in the post-COVID times in transportation, especially electric vehicles, sort of a concept, because the central government had already made the road tax as zero for electric vehicles. So various initiatives are taken at the government level, at the research level also many things are happening. So thank you, sir, for giving us an overview, a bird's eye view of all these things which are happening, were happening in the normal condition and in the new normal condition. And by comparing both of them, what we can take forward for our research or our dissertation, or maybe our uh, uh, this in our professional life, that will be very helpful for all our students, including our past students whoever are here, and the existing students and myself, sir. So thank you very much, sir. We will keep on inviting you, and thank you for keeping it open that our students can always come and interact with you or mail you for any queries related to, or any kind of other help which a certain maybe some kind of an analysis or any kind of help which we can get from IIT Roorkee, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Definitely,
Thank you again.
definitely, definitely.
So with this, we will stop, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Yes.
thank you.